today I'm going to show you our favorite method of starting new gardens, and it's called Micro-Boreal garden. This method is wonderful for in the north, especially in places that don't have much soil, and for new gardeners. It's also a really cool thing that you could do if you get good at it to start a small business or to make presents to share with your friends and family. The best thing about our Micro-Boreal gardens is that we're going to use all local products or things that you can find that are free. So the first one, the main one, is a bucket. So you can get any type of bucket. It doesn't matter how ugly it looks either. This one is just from one of our local grocery stores that they throw out all the time, but you can ask around your community. And the first thing that we're going to have to do is put holes in it for drainage. So you could, if you want, use a big drill, but if you don't have a big drill, you can also just use a hammer and a nail. There's one. So knock some holes in. That's really important for drainage because when you're watering your micro garden, you don't want the bucket to fill right with water. So you're going to have to put some holes in it. Of course, this doesn't look very pretty. So what we're going to do is make it beautiful. And what I've got is a bit of old burlap. And you can use whatever fabric you want. So if you just find some type of fabric, and one thing you're going to want to do is take out the handle. There we go. And you can save that and use it in your garden later if you want to. Okay. So it's pretty easy. Just cut a piece that's about double the size of your bucket, and then you want to wrap it around like that and fold these sides in. And then you just need some type of string or ribbon to make it beautiful. Next, what I'm going to show you is something to help with places that don't have a lot of soil. So if you don't have a lot of soil, what we can use the bucket for is building soil. And this is a cool foundation of the Micro-Boreal gardens. Something that every community has is old cardboard. And so what you can do is fill the bottom of your bucket with old cardboard. Now this will help with two things. It'll bulk up your bucket, and it'll also hold moisture really well. So your bucket will stay more moist. And it'll break down into soil eventually. So next what we'll do is something else people have lots of, is just small dry sticks that you can gather off the bottoms of trees. Yeah. Okay, there we go. So, same with the cardboard. The sticks help with bulking up the basket, and they will decompose into soil. One other thing we can add that you might have in your community is moss. Now moss will really help hold moisture, which is what you need when you have all these sticks in here, and will help break the other material down eventually. Okay. Another thing we're going to add to this is some leaves. And you might not have leaves around, and it's not mandatory, but if you do, they're a great addition to the bucket, especially for breaking down into soil later on too. So we'll add leaves. So we've got the basis of our Micro-Boreal garden, and it's a lot of bulky material that will help hold moisture but also will break down into soil. And now we're going to make our own soil. So you might have worm compost if you have a worm composting bucket at your house, or you might have a friend in town who has some, or you might have your own backyard compost. You can use that compost. Okay, we're going to add our worm compost to some old garden soil. So I just have a bit of old garden soil here. We'll put that in. Now worm compost is full of good nutrients, and you can see it's also really nice and moist, so it'll also help hold moisture for our dry soil. Another ingredient for our soil is charcoal. Now this is just from my campfire, and it's wood that was burnt but not all the way, so it hasn't become ash yet. And charcoal is wonderful for soil. It's one of the building blocks of soil because it is carbon. And There are really great qualities for putting charcoal in your soil. One of them is that, again, it'll hold moisture really well. It's what makes soil dark and rich, and it'll also attract microorganisms. So those are the little insects and bacteria and microbes that will help your plants and your soil work together to grow. You don't want to add it in full chunks though. What we're going to do is break it up. Get my breakup board. There we go. And my hammer. Okay. So we're going to break it up as small as we can. We'll add that to our soil. Now we'll mix our soil up really well so it's all incorporated. So you've got your soil, you've got your compost, you've got maybe some charcoal in there. And now we'll add this to our bucket on top. Okay. Now, for what you're going to plant in your micro-boreal garden, it's up to you. But we love to put in a flower just because it's pretty and people love having that around. Sometimes you're more likely to take care of your garden if it's beautiful. There we go. You want to, when you're transplanting, you want to be gentle with the roots and not squish the soil down, but just put it gently in and put the soil around it. Next, what we're going to do is put in our vegetable. So in our micro-boreal gardens, we want there to be something beautiful and then something we can eat too. And this will help people learn about what it's like to grow a garden, even on a small scale. So what we've got here is a beet. We'll plant this beet here, but you could just plant a beet seed if you'd like. Okay. Now beets are great because you can eat the beet leaves, but it'll also grow a big bulb that you can harvest at the fall. And you can store them to keep over the winter. You can use them in all kinds of different ways, like in soups and stews, or just raw as a salad. There we go. Okay, and the last thing we'll put in is an herb. And I think we'll put in this lavender. So you can use your little tool to make a small hole. So the last thing we'll put on our micro-boreal garden is mulch. And mulch is so important because it'll help hold moisture in your garden and protect the soil. So the sun won't dehydrate the soil so much. Lots of people in the city will buy mulch from a store. You can get wood chips for mulch, and people sometimes also use leaves. But in the north, we don't have that much leaves, and so what we can use is squirrel middens. And we went into the forest and gathered up some of this material that the squirrels made for us. And this is why we're calling it a micro-boreal garden. So we'll add our mulch. Now this is how nature makes soil, is the squirrels help us by eating pine cones, and then those pine cones gather in mounds on the forest floor around the squirrels' homes usually, and that decomposes into soil that the trees can use again later. Okay, now there's one final thing we need to do, and that's water our garden. So we'll make sure we water it really thoroughly. Now we're going to find a place to put this. We'll put it somewhere sunny and we'll watch it grow. And there, that's it, the micro-boreal garden.